My name is Amita, and in this video I am going to discuss about one of our important topic of in power electronics, that is a silicon control rectifier. Silicon control rectifier is a power electronics device which is the most frequently used device, and it is one of the family member of an thyristor. There are a lot of semiconductor devices which comes under thyristor family, but amongst all the semiconductor devices, SCR is so popularly used, that's why it became a synonym of an thyristor. Now, my dear friends, I am directly taking you on board where I will explain you the construction of an silicon control rectifier and its operation. So now I am sharing the board with you. So let us start with the silicon control rectifier. Now, why it is called silicon control rectifier? Because it is made up of using silicon semiconductor material. That's why it is called silicon. Since it is having the control terminal, so it is called control. Since it is a unidirectional device, means it can operate only in one direction. It allows the flow of current only in one direction. So it is called rectifier. Now there are few facts about this device. One of the important fact is it belongs to the thyristor family. That means it is one of the family member of an thyristor. Although lot of other semiconductor devices which comes under thyristor family, but amongst all those semiconductor devices, silicon control rectifier is the most popular used device. That's why it became the synonym of an thyristor family. For your information, thyristor family, basically this thyristor word came from two words. One is the thyratron tube and another is the transistor. Since the silicon control rectifier characteristic wise it is similar to thyratron tube, and in construction it is similar to transistor, that's why it is the member of an thyristor. If you want to see more detail related to an thyristor, please see the video which is mainly focused on the thyristor. The link of that video I have given in the description. You can learn more about thyristor by watching that video. The second thing, as I already mentioned, it is a controllable device and it is a semiconductor material based device. The third thing is it is 4-layer, 3-junction and 3-terminal device. And those terminals are named as anode, cathode and gate. And gate is the control terminal of this device. So let us see the first thing about it. And one important point, that it is a power device, and in market the highest rating SCRs available, that is 3 kiloampere, 10 kb, 30 megawatt power. You can see that with the help of single SCR we can control the 3000 ampere current, 10 kb voltage and 30 megawatt power can be controlled by a single SCR. See how much capacity of that this device is having. Now let us see its schematic diagram. So there are 4 layers of semiconductor material. One is P1, N1, P2 and 2. This is cathode. Here there is a anode and this one is gate terminal. So you can say it's a 4-layer, 3-terminal and 3-junction J1, J2, J3. So 4 layers, 3 terminals, 3-junction device. Now if I talk about its symbol, it is like this. It is similar to diode, and there is one more inclined line. This is anode, this is cathode and this one is gate. So this is the symbol for the SCR. Now if I explain its operation, third one is operation. So just to brief the operation, I can explain its operation or a working by 3 operating modes. One is called as an forward blocking mode, Its complete operation we can describe by 3 operating modes. Second one is reverse blocking mode, and the third one is forward conduction mode. Now let us start with the first mode, that is forward blocking mode. Forward blocking mode. Now what do you understand by forward blocking mode? Suppose this is P1, N1, P2, N2. This is anode, this is cathode, and here it is a gate. Now when we say one terminal as anode, means to make the device forward bias, it has to be connected to the positive supply. So this is VAK, anode cathode voltage, where the anode is connected to the positive potential and cathode is connected to negative potential. When we connect the device like this, you can see that the junction J1, you can see that the junction J1, J2 and J3, J1 will be forward bias, as when the P layer is connected to positive, then that junction has to be forward bias. When the N layer is connected to negative, that junction is also forward bias, but the J2 junction is there, which is reverse bias. So the current cannot flow from anode to cathode, as the middle junction is reverse bias. So as the device is forward bias, so this is called forward. As the current cannot flow through the device, so it is called as an blocking mode. So this mode is called as an forward blocking mode, and in this condition the device is acting as an open circuit. Why? Because the middle junction is reverse bias. So if I draw its electrical equivalent, that will be behaves as a single capacitor, because so it is acting as an open circuit. And if I draw the electrical equivalent, it will be as a single capacitor, because what will happen, that the depletion region, because of this reverse junction J2, that is acting as an insulating medium, and above J2 there is a conducting plate, below J2 there is a conducting plate. So its electrical equivalent will be a single capacitor, and this operating mode is called as a forward blocking mode, and acting as an open circuit, current cannot flow in this mode. Now the second mode is reverse blocking mode. Now what is reverse blocking mode? In case of reverse blocking mode, we apply the anode cathode voltage in reverse bias condition. So this is P1, this is N1, this is P2, this is N2. So this is cathode, this is anode. So when we apply the voltage in reverse condition, means P is connected to negative and N is connected to positive. This is how, if I apply the voltage, then we say that the reverse device is in reverse condition. Now under the condition, if we see the junctions J1, J2 and J3, as the N2 layer is connected to positive, means J3 is reverse bias. P is connected to negative, means this junction is also reverse bias, and J2 junction is forward bias. So you can see, since the two outermost junctions are reverse bias, so again the current cannot flow through the device. So that means it is acting as an open switch. So the device will act as an open circuit. Now if I draw its electrical equivalent, it is acting as a two capacitor connected in series, C1 and C2. Why? Because due to this reverse bias junction, it is acting as an insulating medium, and above it is conducting plate, this is conducting plate, so that will make C1 capacitor. And J3 junction depletion region also acting as an insulating medium of capacitor, and upper plate positive and lower plate, both side of the junction will act as a conducting plate. So in reverse blocking condition, the device electrical equivalent will be two capacitors connected in series. Again, in this mode also, the current cannot flow and the device is off. Device is off. In forward blocking mode also, current cannot flow and device is off. Now let us see the next mode, that is forward conduction mode. You can see that in both mode the current cannot flow through the device and the device is acting as an open switch. One more thing, why it is called reverse blocking mode? Because the device is reverse bias. Why it is called blocking? Because the current, it is blocking the current, so it is called blocking. So that's why this mode is called as a reverse blocking mode. Now the last mode is forward conduction mode. Now what is forward conduction mode? When we connect the device in a forward bias condition, that is P1, N1, P2, N2, this is cathode, this is anode, and here is a gate. So now we have seen that simply connecting the forward bias voltage across the device is not sufficient to make the device on, that we have seen in the forward blocking mode. So to change the state of a device from off to on, we are supposed to apply the different turn-on methods of SCR. Means to make the device on, we are supposed to apply the turn-on methods, and those are called as in turn-on methods of SCR. So one method is called as in forward breakover voltage method. Second is called as in gate triggering method. Third one is called as in temperature triggering method. Fourth one is called as in light triggering method. And fifth one is called as in dB by dt triggering. Now let us see how these methods can make the device conducting. So start with the forward breakover voltage method. What we do in this method, we apply an anode cathode voltage P1, N1, P2, N2. We apply an anode cathode voltage which is a variable voltage. This is anode, this is cathode, and this is gate. This is a variable voltage VAK. What we do, we increase this anode cathode voltage. You can see that due to the forward bias connection of applied voltage, two outermost junctions are forward bias and the middle junction was reverse bias. So when we start increasing this voltage, actually this increase of anode cathode voltage across the device, it is although forward bias, but that voltage is appearing to middle junction as a reverse bias. So when we are increasing this voltage, that increase of voltage is appearing to this middle junction in a reverse bias condition. And we know that when we increase the voltage across any junction in a reverse bias condition, then the avalanche breakdown of that middle junction happens and the device goes into conduction mode. So what we do in this method, we increase the anode cathode voltage across the device in forward biased condition, which appears to middle junction as reverse bias, and the middle junction avalanche breakdown happens and device goes into conduction. So this is one of the method of making the device on, that is called as an forward breakover voltage method. Means we are supposed to increase the anode cathode voltage across the device in forward bias condition up to the forward breakover voltage. and that voltage appears to the reverse junction as a reverse bias. So it will goes into avalanche breakdown of that reverse bias junction happen, and it will goes into conduction mode. Normally, this forward breakover voltage method we don't use for the practical purpose to make the device on, because there may be chances to make the device completely damaged. So the next method is gate triggering method. This method is the most frequently used method to make the device on for all practical purposes. Now let us try to understand this gate triggering method. What we do in this gate triggering method, this is cathode, this is anode, this is gate. Now we apply the voltage across the anode cathode in positive forward bias condition, and apart from that we connect the gate cathode voltage also by making the gate positive with respect to cathode. Now under this condition, what will happen, due to the forward bias condition, J1 is forward bias, J3 is forward bias, and J2 is reverse bias. Now what will happen, as we have connected VGK voltage also, so this is positive. So due to this positive, whatever the electrons are there in this N2 layer, they are attracted by the positive potential of this gate, and they will try to move in P2 layer. And already there were electrons in P2 layer as a minority charge carriers, and the electrons of N2 layer is also moved to the P2 layer. So suddenly the number of electrons in P2 layer increases, and they and under the condition increases, and they will try to accumulate near the junction J2, and they will break this junction, and this is how the device goes into the conduction mode. So this is something about the gate triggering method. Now why this method is preferable, because whenever we want to make the device on, we are supposed to connect the gate supply. So that means with this method, at what instant I want to make the device on, that is in my hand. So this is something about the gate triggering method. Now if I talk about in light triggering method, basically we see in gate triggering method, by applying the electric field between gate and cathode, we have mobilized the electrons of a N2 layer which was not mobilizing before connecting the gate supply. So that means we have given some energy, and due to that energy, the electrons in the N2 layer, they start moving to P2 layer. So when we give this energy in form of light, then that kind of method is called as a light triggering. And when we give that energy in place of electric field, if we give that energy in terms of and thermal, then it is called as a temperature triggering. And at last, I just want to tell you the method, that is dB by dt triggering. So what do you mean by dB by dt triggering? As I already mentioned when I was discussing about then forward blocking mode and reverse blocking mode, in forward blocking mode I told you that the device behavior is like as an capacitor. So we know in case of capacitor, the device behavior will be as a capacitor, and we know in case of any capacitor, the current can be given by C dB by dt. That means when the device is forward biased, if I apply anode cathode voltage of such type whose dB by dt is high, so by that kind of voltage, as the device under that circumstances is behaving as a single capacitor, so suddenly the charging current across the device increases and the device goes into conduction mode. So this kind of method of making the device on is called as an dB by dt triggering. So by applying any of the method of turn on of SCR, we can make the device conducting. Now at last, I want to tell you the operating characteristic of the SCR. There are two kind of operating characteristic of an SCR are there. One is called as a static characteristic, and second one is called as an dynamic characteristic. Now in this video, I am only going to discuss about the static characteristic, because dynamic characteristic itself, it's a very big topic. So for that particular characteristic, kindly watch my next video. In this video, I am going to tell you the static characteristic only. So what is a static characteristic? Static characteristic is the characteristic which we plot between, what is this? It's a plot between anode cathode voltage to the anode cathode current, or it shows the variation of voltage across anode cathode terminal of SCR, and the current flows from anode to cathode. So it is a variation, it is a plot which is between the anode cathode voltage and the anode cathode current. So let us plot it. So let us static VI characteristic. This is VAK, this is IAK. Now I am taking another color, suppose red. So this kind of characteristic will be there. So this is VB0, this is VBR, this is called as an forward leakage current, this is reverse leakage current. Now this is VAK1, this is VAK2, this is VAK3, this is IG1, IG2, IG3. This is holding current, and this one is latching current. Now you can see here, initially red colors I have plotted the characteristic, white color I have used for the labeling, and yellow color I have used for the axis, X and Y axis. Now you can see here, initially there is a, when we increase the anode cathode voltage, there is a very small increase in the current. Why? Because from this point to this point, the device is in forward blocking mode, and once the voltage, anode cathode voltage increase to the level of VB0. What is VB0? VB0 is basically forward breakover voltage. So once we increase the anode cathode voltage in a forward bias condition up to the forward breakover voltage, suddenly you can see that the voltage is coming reverse. Why this dashed line I have represented? Because this stage is a very indeterminate stage. Why this graph is coming back? Because till the device is not on, whatever the anode cathode voltage you are applying, that will be the voltage across the anode cathode terminal of the SCR also. But once the device is on, the voltage across the anode cathode terminal will be very less, because under that condition it will be an on-state voltage drop, and for case of SCR it will be 1 to 1.5 volt on-state voltage drop range exists to this. So that means the voltage will suddenly come back because the on-state voltage drop is less. After that, if you increase the anode cathode voltage, there will be a small increase in the voltage, but there will be a drastic increase in the current. So we can divide this characteristic in three parts. Number one is for forward blocking, number two is for forward conduction, and number three is for reverse blocking. So this characteristic from this point to this point, that is one characteristic. It is called forward blocking characteristic. Characteristic number 2, it is called as an forward conduction characteristic. And characteristic number 3 is called as an reverse blocking characteristic. So one of the way you can increase the anode cathode voltage up to the forward breakover voltage, and the device can goes into conduction mode. And apart from, as I already mentioned, that breakover voltage method we never use to make the device on. So what we can do, we can, this IG1, IG2, IG3, they are representing the different magnitude of gate current. So if we connect the gate supply accordingly, if you are increasing the gate cathode voltage, the IG1 will be more. If you reduce the gate current, so for the different magnitude of gate current, if IG1 is more, then for less value of anode cathode voltage, the device will goes into conduction mode. So this and this, these are showing the gate triggering method. Depending on if the gate current is more, the device will be on at a less value of a anode cathode voltage. So means if VAK1 is less than VAK2 is less than VAK3, then IG1 will be greater than IG2 will be greater than IG3. That means if the anode cathode voltage is more, then the high value of gate current is required to make the device on. So this is how we can show the static VI characteristic. Why it is called static VI characteristic? Because it shows the variation of anode cathode voltage and a current during static condition, means steady state condition. Apart from that, in a reverse bias condition, if we increase the voltage, there will be a small change in the current, and once the voltage reaches to the reverse breakover voltage, that is VBR, the device goes into the conduction mode, and there will be a drastic increase in current, and the device will permanently damage. So what is VBR? This is reverse breakover voltage. So if you increase the voltage in a reverse bias condition up to the reverse breakover voltage, your device will be permanently damaged. VBR value is always be greater than VB0, but as if you increase the voltage up to VBR, the device will be permanently damaged. That's why we never increase the voltage beyond VB0. So VB0 will be considered as a final voltage rating of SCR. Safer side, we consider VB0 as a final voltage rating of an SCR. Although the VBR value is greater than VB0, but we never consider VBR as a voltage rating, because if you increase the voltage up to VBR, the device goes into permanent damage. Now there are two important terms. One is latching current, another is holding current. Right now in this video, I am just going to tell you that holding current is the minimum value of anode cathode current that should flow through the device so that the device can be off. Whereas the latching current is the minimum value of anode cathode current that should flow through the device so that the device can remain on. So it is related to the on process of the SCR, and it is related to the off process of the SCR. So that is something about, both are the anode cathode current. So this is something about the static VI characteristic of an SCR. Now my dear friends, I hope I already briefed each and everything related to the SCR, and stop sharing my screen. My dear friends, whatever information I have shared in this video related to the schematic diagram of an SCR, its symbol, its operation, different operating modes, and static VI characteristic of SCR, that will be clear to you. If you like this video, kindly press the like button, and if you feel that you want to learn more about the power electronics, then keep watching my video, and please don't forget to subscribe my channel.